people being at the forefront of young people being at the forefront of all of these ideas. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm hoping that you're not just overwhelmed by all of this energy, but in essence, we're passionate about transformation in housing. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for letting us be a part of this amazing platform. And I think that it's going to lead us into greater heights as young people. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, my dear. In fact, I could listen to you all day long. Your passion and enthusiasm is very powerful. And we want you very much to be a part of our organizing process. And we want very much that students have an important voice. Thank you so much I feel so badly because I usually record these meetings and I forgot to hit record. I was getting so caught up in the conversation. So, you have to keep talking throughout this conversation as we look at how we integrate students into our leadership process. How do we attract them? What role can students play? Are students going to just be the learners, or are they also going to be the teachers? So I want you to think about that, and I want you to tell me how you can also take the leadership in helping us provide students with what they need in order to be in the sector. So tell us, what do you need from us?
Well, to the most part, we've already got the people. Now, most of the time, it's very hard to mobilize people, but because this is an institutionally led initiative, we've got the young people who are available. Mentorship, I believe, is one thing that needs to be available. And I think the academics are already on board. The fact that we're on this platform, but to the most part, we do need the resources. A lot of the times we try and spearhead these initiatives, but we find ourselves lacking in terms of having access to certain areas of information and, in fact, even key stakeholders on the globe. So giving us access to some developmental organizations on the global stage, maybe the United Nations, this requires for you to knock on those doors and make sure that they're readily available, because this is not just an isolated activity that's around housing and human settlements, but it's making sure that we actually collaborate. So making sure that we get a network with the relevant stakeholders across the globe is what we need. Secondly, I do think that we need global mentorship and partnership. It's not just the academics that we need on board, but also the practitioners around housing across the globe. At this point, I think you don't want to make a long list of needs and requirements, but to the most part, when you're doing these initiatives, you need resources to make sure that the committees are functioning, to make sure that there's space to actually make sure that this project is actually a success. So it's resources, it's mentorship, but it's also providing us with the right networks to make sure that these projects are scalable and that we have the right policy the right stakeholders to be a part of the engagement. For now, I think that is what I'm bringing on board, is to say, please provide us with the financial resources. Please provide us with the intellectual resources and the networks that are required, because we've been having these discussions. Please understand that we have these discussions in isolated spaces, but they can't be scalable because we don't know how to scale them on a global stage. So we do need international collaborations where the Americans tell us how did they do similar projects in a different country. And so for now, I genuinely don't want to start throwing things in without actually giving specifics of what is the task force and what does the task force actually require. And that would need enough time and investment in the commissions and in the planning. At this point, my presentation was just to say, we're here, we're ready, and we want to be a part of the process leading up, not just to the symposium, but leading up to transforming housing discourse across the globe. So resources are always necessary so that this is a sustainable partnership across the globe, and not just in Africa and not just in South Africa, but let us start contenting other continents as well. We're hoping that it's going to become global and not just, us in America, because there's so much to learn from each other. So I'm hoping that I answered your question. It's a mouthful, yes, but I do think that we still need to have thorough conversations and know what is available from you. It's my first time in this engagement, so also understanding what can you provide, maybe beyond what we had imagined we could actually access, beyond the conversations. How can we actually move forward and grow as young people within the sector? So having access to these stages leading up to the symposium, because the symposium for us is not a destination, but it's actually part of the process of ensuring that us young South Africans are a part of the global discourse, and that at some point, when we're talking about housing across the globe, we're having a similar conversation and we do have general consensus. Because to be quite honest, as South Africa, we usually find ourselves talking about Africa as if we now have this autonomy or we can speak on behalf of Africa. Yes, South Africa has been privileged to have greater relations as opposed to other African countries. But I do believe that when we're talking about global collaborations, that we need to start stretching ourselves. And that when we're talking about African solutions, let it be an African solution. When we're talking about America, let it be proper collaboration and not excluding other African countries, because we would find ourselves coming up with solutions that actually exploit the other African country. These are things that we spoke about in our political corners, and that we're acting like we're saving people, but at the expense of other countries that have not been invited into the room. And so we do want inclusive advocacy, which is very important for us as young people. We've been excluded in so many platforms. So who are we to exclude other African countries that have been excluded within these engagements? And so leading up to the symposium, we're hoping that it's not just going to be us, but we're going to find the other young people across the globe who will be part of these engagements. Thank you, ma'am.
Watu, this world is yours.
Hope your student is just absolutely brilliant. Listen, I think one of the things that attracted me to thinking about this project was talking to Tondo at Nelson Mandela University, and the passion and the grace that he had in talking about the needs of the students. We know here in the United States that we also have a student culture that is hungry and looking for something more. And I think this whole purpose is to look at how can we move beyond our two countries? How can we bring in other countries, particularly around the human settlement space and the professional aspects of engaging young people in this movement? So what you're saying is very powerful indeed. And I look at my colleague Maria Day Marshall, who the whole time you've been talking, she's been grinning from ear to ear, her and her colleague Tanya Bansal. So they are working with students in the US all the time. And I know that Mindy Nitch, who's here from our state's Commerce Department, she's been in discussions about bringing more HBCUs from the US so that we can have this cross-student engagement. I would love to see, the whole point of having a Pan-African symposium is so that we can bring in other countries, because again, we do not want to have one country achieve over, on the backs of another country, because this is one world. And everything that we do impacts somebody else someplace else. So I think that I would love to hear from some of our colleagues about your perspective, your thoughts. I know that resources is always a challenge, but I think one of the things that we will need to get a better sense of is what that resource bucket looks like. And we need to figure out if some of what you're talking about doing, if it indeed has a research focus, that we could look at perhaps pursuing research in order to create this grand experiment of cross-student fertilization so that we can help you all change the world. I think that's what we would love to see. Maria, what are your thoughts? I'm watching your reaction and I can only imagine.
Well, I think she is absolutely fabulous, and certainly has uplifted my morning. We will be, Tanya and I will be speaking with a group of chairs of real estate departments at universities across the country after this meeting. And she has inspired me to share what her message is, and the prospects of doing the Pan-African Symposium with our colleagues at these universities. You just gave a very impassioned speech that I think, we should record you. And I told Liz that we needed to record you so that we can take this message and spread it among all of our students here in the US. So I am really looking forward to working with you and to getting our students involved at the University of Maryland to participate in the symposium. So thank you so much for all that you said this morning. And I think we should all be inspired by what you said. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Through you, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say she's my student so that everyone knows that.
Well, your student is amazing.
I wanted to boast a little bit.
No, listen, she is the voice of our world. I mean, she just collectively gathered probably all of the student frustration, angst, hope, passion, and you know, they want to change the world. They want to make this world a better place for us. And to hear her so specific about, you know, I understand she probably has a long list of needs and wants. But and that's fine. That's fine. And this symposium is not going to certainly answer all of that. But I think that in hearing that voice directly, that what we can do from this point on is to really look at how we harness that energy and how we bring it to bear in this symposium, so that we are creating something that is so unique and so compelling that we are going to get the attention of the world through our respective contacts. As we start trying to figure out what this all means, I love the concept of having a hybrid type of symposium, so that we can bring in people that not only people who submit abstracts, but people that we know will bring a compelling voice to respond to some of the matters that you've addressed. And I see Professor Kalima has his hand up, so I'm gonna wrap my little comment up. I'm also going to mention that Margaret McFarland joined us, and I'm happy to have her with us today, because I would love to hear some from her for a bit. But Professor Kalima, you've got your hand up, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Watu. I think Watu has some colleagues in that room, and those colleagues are as equally passionate. You know, I think it's in that room. Something is happening in that room. So I would like to hear something from that room. We have Tando, we have Mr. Boyce, and the colleague. Yeah. So please.
And
there's something happening.
And my brother, Lawrence Ramashamoli, is in there.
Exactly. So something is happening in that room. So please, what's going on?
Thanks, Prof. Through your chair. Let me also extend my greetings this afternoon. It's afternoon this side. We are in PE. We are doing some work here.
Tell them what PE is. Most people don't know what PE is. I know what it is, but they don't know.
We are in South Africa, in the Eastern Cape province, in Gqeberha. It's no longer called PE, it's called Gqeberha, in the east side of South Africa, in the southeast side of South Africa. So that's where we are, near the Nelson Mandela University. It's a walk or a drive pass by. So we are doing some work of the institute here, but I would come in. I'm not sure if it's the right time, Chair, to speak on what I was supposed to speak on regarding the student conference that we are planning. I know that I've missed some parts of the meeting, so I don't want to not to be in line with what is discussed or tend to over.
Please talk about the National Student Conference, because it certainly is complementary to what we're doing. So please talk about it.
Okay, thank you very much for that opportunity, Ma'am Liz. in South Africa, as you know me, that I am the president of the students chapter under the institute. The students chapter is the students in South Africa that are doing housing and human settlements across different universities in the country. We have tried, we have established the societies across these universities. So the students are planning to host their annual student conference in South Africa in the University of Fort Hare. We have the blessings from the University of Fort Hare to be able to host this conference. Due to COVID-19, this conference will adopt a blended format and a blended approach, which is both face-to-face and virtual participation. We are hoping to have around 300 participants, whereas 100 to 125 will be physical, and then other 175 will be virtual. So the conference is named the African Regional Student Conference. It's one of the different conferences that we foresee them being owned by our students, because most of the conferences that are happening are practitioners conference, academics conference. So this one will not be very formal. It will be flexible and will be owned by students. Actually, to be more specific, some of the most sessions will be chaired by students in this conference, because it's a student conference, which is something that was not done before within this space, not of any that I am aware of. So the theme of this conference, I want to read it out loud. It's a very interesting and important theme. It's called, I'll read it out loud: strengthening the sector-wide capacity development efforts during a pandemic and beyond, opportunities for young professionals. I will repeat it for the last time: strengthening the sector-wide capacity development efforts during a pandemic and beyond, opportunities for young professionals. I might say that the aim of this conference is to realize continuous professional development for our students, opportunities for networking, exchange of knowledge and ideas, and strong collaboration between them. So by the aim of saying it's an African regional conference, it means that it's a request for on this platform through you, Chair, that we need participants from different African countries, which is in form of both academics, professionals, students, within Africa. Even in US, we want participants in our conference so that in different sessions of the conference, they will contribute in our conference. Even in UK, we even want, because this conference is going to achieve multi areas, because out of this conference, it will be beneficial that some of our collaboration will be tied in, and other emerging projects and programs will be able to emerge. So the LOC is about to sit next week to be able to confirm, because what we foresee is to have this conference around late July. We had an idea of changing it to September, but what seems to be emerging, there is another important event that the Institute is planning. It's not my place to say that, but I think the Institute is planning something later this year. So that's why we are thinking to stick with late July, but the LOC will speak into those details. So that's my request in this meeting, that I want people to confirm if they are going to participate in our conference, so that we may be able to see how they will contribute in our conference. Given the concept document of the conference, I think it's shared with you. It's still not final. It's still in its development stage. Now that you see it, it was further developed it's developed than what you see now. So it's still not final. Even now, it is still developed because the board is still needs to also add their inputs, and still the LOC needs to go into finer details of this conference. So the students' participation will be form of presentations, posters, whereby these students who are also doing research will be able to outline their research outputs, how far they have gone. It will allow also those students who are not doing research to be also have some piece in this pie, so because they are students. So as a value adding maybe to this platform for both our students and for the Pan-African Symposium, we want this event, students who have done well in their presentation to be allowed to be participants in the Pan-African Symposium, so that this conference will aim to position themselves and prepare them to be able to be fit to participate in the Pan, because we cannot just pull out our students, whereas they have never been exposed in any platform to go into continental, no international conference. We will be robbing them if we say like that. So those, that is a summary of our conference. Of course, we have our conference outputs, whereby we would love to also have some conference proceedings, whether it's in form of soft and hard copies, but we will see the LOC will confirm that, of which some of the participants in this meeting, we would love them to form part of our LOC, but in a date confirmed next week. I'll end there, Ma'am Liz, for now, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, dear Tondo. So one of the things that I understand that you will probably need, and I think we've got people in this group that might be able to help, is if you need presenters that are practitioners that come from the US that can talk about housing and human settlement development and the work that they are doing. I'm looking at Regina Mitchell, I'm looking at Ramsey, I'm looking at, I think he's still here, Jeffrey Mosley. And certainly, if you can entice Maria De Marshall and Tanya Bansal, I think you have people here that may be very interested in participating as speakers for your conference. Secondly, I see we have from Professor Mangwe that you're probably looking at, settling on a date. July might be kind of ambitious, but we would certainly, I think, be very happy to work with you in identifying speakers for your conference. I think we could definitely do that. I want to say that we've got a couple of people that have joined us. I want to give them a moment to weigh in. I particularly am hoping Margaret McFarland is still here. Margaret has a compelling background, and at the heart and core of her heart are the welfare and learning of students. And so, Margaret, introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask that James Cragen weigh in, because I want to talk with him about recruiting HBCUs to be a part of this process.
Oh, well, thank you, Elizabeth. It's wonderful to see you after a couple of years.
Yes.
I'm so excited to learn from LinkedIn, and then thank you to Maria De Marshall for forwarding me the information that you all are working on. I'm located part-time now in California, working with a little business college in the Bay Area. It's a very different situation than you have from Africa, but a very passionate undergraduate students that we have here, mostly first time to go to college, mostly not who you think would be living with the tech industry, but there's a very, very serious housing shortage here. So when I'm on this side of the country, I work with them, and periodically I get a chance to work with my old colleagues, Ms. Bansal and Dr. De Marshall. So I'm very interested in helping out and participating with what you're developing in the relationship and going forward with Africa. So anything I can do to help, I'd love to jump in.
Wonderful. we'd welcome
Margaret, you should also tell them that you are the founding director of the Real Estate Development Program and the Colvin Institute of Real Estate, my predecessor at the University of Maryland. So we keep her involved, and she just taught a class for us, and I was happy to invite her to join us in this process because I think she has a lot to add. So thanks, Margaret, for joining this morning. I know it's very early in California.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm sorry I can't stay on for very long, but I appreciate the invitation, and it's always wonderful to see my old colleagues and Elizabeth again as well. And I hope to meet and know all of the rest of you better as we move forward.
So Dr. Cragen, it's good to see you. We are delighted that I think I saw Jean Bailey join just a moment ago, but now I don't see her. But you know, the students, we just had a very impassioned presentation by students in South Africa, and one of the things that they are most interested in is being able to connect around both academic and practical experiences with students in our historically Black colleges and universities. And I know that your commitment to HBCUs, particularly in Maryland, and your previous work at Howard University, would be welcome to be able to help us figure out how we can make the connections to engage some of those students and maybe some professors as well. So I welcome you here. I see my colleague Sandali Mbata is here from eThekwini municipality. I'd like to welcome him as well. And my friend and colleague Lori Putcher is also here with us. So Dr. Cragen, any thoughts? I know that Dr. Bailey has been talking with you and Calvin Johnson about this project. You joined us before. Any thoughts? I know that you were interested in the student forums. Any thoughts about that?
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of this. I have made contact with Morgan State, and they have expressed some interest in joining. And I have to do further work with them to clarify the extent of that involvement, but they have expressed interest in especially the student forums. And I've spoken with Jean, and she will be the contact person for Howard University as part of this involvement with the student forum. So that's the extent of it at the moment, but we are looking forward to making this process work and involving them at the level that will be productive for themselves and their learning, and for faculty members to join in assisting in the process.
Thank you, Dr. Cragen. Professor Kalema, your hand is still raised. Did you want to weigh in? All right, so more people in that room with Tondo. Brendan, here we go. Brendan?
Good afternoon, colleagues. I hope you can hear me. Yes. Mine is, first of all, to congratulate Mom Liz on your ascension to the chairpersonship of the African Housing Practitioners Forum. I hope you got my email congratulating you. But why I'm making this point, I think both yourself and Professor Mbanga will be representing this collective in different forms on that structure. For me, I think the voice of the youth within that structure needs to be elevated, knowing that it's a nascent structure, it's just been formed. and also hoping to penetrate or elevate the message of youth participation within these structures is very critical. So one of the things that we are hoping as an institute is that if that forum could assist us to network students throughout Africa, it would be a huge achievement in my own view, that youth voices come to the table, that youth voices are exposed in a more systemic way. For me, it's about how do we create systemic access for young people to be really to make an impact and not to feel frustrated and locked out of any kind of discourse or dialogue. So that's the only point I wanted to make besides greeting all colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm hoping that my brother Ramashamoli is going to give us a few words if he's still in the room with you guys. This journey that we are on is in many ways, many ways inspired by the relationship that Naro has had with Lawrence Ramashamoli. He has just been, I can't tell you, he is my family, and if not for him, I don't think I would be sitting in this chair right now. So I would welcome some comments, my brother. You have your other sister Regina here, and we are eagerly waiting to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Liz, for the opportunity. I can see the common faces there. And ordinarily, I would have a lot to say, but I've had a very long and involved day, so I really don't have much to say. I just want to say, guys, it's an opportunity, good opportunity, and a pleasure for me to always engage with you and to meet you. And I also see other new faces, and I hope we can be able to find an opportunity to meet face to face once this pandemic is gone by. That would be wonderful. The rest of the issues that we have to deal with is an ongoing process, and we all have to constantly consult and engage. And as long as we are working together as a team, we can achieve a lot. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Lawrence. I know we are actually going over the allotted time for the meeting, and I hope that some folks will indulge us and remain on the call a little bit longer. I would like to ask Emmanuel Famba, who is the president of the African Housing Professionals Forum, to just speak briefly about the forum, its goal. Emmanuel, you received a challenge from the students in terms of their need and desire to have a voice in that forum. I know that we are still waiting on organizing our first meeting of all the housing societies that are part of the assembly. But I would like you to speak to this group and tell them a little bit about what the forum hopes to achieve.
Good afternoon from Sierra Leone to all the participants of this meeting. I am Emmanuel Fumba, the president of the African Housing.
Emmanuel, you may want to turn your camera off. Your bandwidth is challenged. We can't hear you.
Professional Forum. I want in the African Professional. Yeah, this is an organization by. Hello.
Yes, you're breaking up. Turn your camera
Hello.
off. Turn your camera off.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but you might want to turn your camera off. You'll have more bandwidth that way, because your video is taking up your bandwidth.
Okay.
Try that. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, good afternoon again. I'm Emmanuel Fumba, the president of the African Housing Professional Forum, an organization that was founded by Mr. Adeyini Adiruba He's a Nigerian based in the UK. This is an organization that was founded as an affiliation of selected professional housing institutions in Africa. A professional association of people engaged in housing management, housing development, real estate, and housing education sectors as employees, consultants, students, friends, or associates. AHPF's main aim is to foster cooperation and partnership between the housing settlements professionals and the Society for Housing Professionals through dialogue and partnership with similar institutions that support and promote the concept of addressing
Adi, I'm sorry, Emmanuel.
issues around the provision of affordable housing for the deprived communities in Africa, and by sharing information and dialogue that we contribute to the agenda. AHFP will also work towards to make cities and human settlements sustainable. Members should be independent, non-profit, and non-government organizations that are international or regional associations of housing professionals supporting sustainable urban and rural development. Since the establishment of this organization in Africa, we map out certain activities that we are now working on. For instance, we map out the registration because this is a very new organization that was established a few months ago in this year. We are trying to see if we can register it as a non-profit organization in Sierra Leone. Then we are working on the establishment of housing societies in selected countries in Africa. Then we are also working on the formation of the board of trustees. We are also working on the designing and the launching of our website. The launching and also the launching of the established housing societies in the various countries. Then we are also working on the mobilization of 194 candidates from 20 African countries for the Chartered Institute of Housing Chartered memberships awarded by the Chartered Institute of Housing in the UK. Also, we are working on inclusion of housing societies from other parts of Africa. So far, what we have achieved since our establishment is that we have been fully registered in Sierra Leone as a legal organization to carry on our activities. Then 10 housing societies have been established in 10 selected African countries that include Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cameroon, Gambia, South Sudan, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, DR Congo, and Somalia. Each of the 10 established housing societies will receive $10,000 US grant award to cover organizational registration in their various countries, rent an office space, provide for them office furniture, equipment, office supplies, and utilities. The board of trustees has been formed, comprising of 5 members, and Madam Elizabeth Glenn was appointed as the chair of the board. And in another related development, our website has been designed and is launched. So if you want to access it, you can go to www.africanhousingproforum.org. I think Madam Liz will be in position to share that with you as the meeting proceeds. Yeah, then also there is a plan to formally launch the African Housing Professional Forum and the 10 established housing societies in Sierra Leone at a time that will be later discussed and announced to this august body. 194 candidates identified for the Chartered Institute of Housing Training for the award of a charter membership qualification from the Chartered Institute of Housing in UK are currently awaiting the commencement of the training. And the commencement of the training depends on the timely disbursement of an approved grant from the African Union to be disbursed through the African Capacity Building Foundation. AHPF is also working on setting up a committee that will bring on board other housing societies that are not on our list of membership. We are kindly requesting Professor Sijikula Banga to head this committee. 10 old established housing societies that have been operating with the Nigeria UK housing societies will be supported with 15,000 United States dollars each to revive their already existing housing institutions. We've got some constraints, and our constraints that will help us proceed our work in a more effective and efficient way as the untimely disbursement of the approved grants from the African Union through the Africa Capacity Foundation is causing a delay in the implementation of our planned activities. I thank you all for giving me audience.
Thank you, Emmanuel. I appreciate that. I put the wrong link in the chat, so I'm going to correct that now. I'm very pleased to be a part of this organization and look forward to building its capacity. But I see this as a great opportunity for us to engage our other colleagues. Part of the purpose, part of the focus of the forum is to get housing practitioners and colleagues certified through the Chartered Institutes of Housing's certification program, their level 5 certification, which would be great. But I think the bigger movement is the ability for colleagues in housing and human settlements throughout the continent to be able to work together on issues that are of mutual concern and interest. And so I'm looking forward to working with them and helping them to build that capacity. Emmanuel spoke of a grant that was submitted to the African Capacity Building Foundation that they are waiting word on. We are also looking at how we might look at other fundraising opportunities in order to build the capacity of the housing societies that are located in the countries that he referenced, as well as looking at how we can raise some funds to help support the efforts of the Institute of Human Settlement Practitioners. So we have a lot of work to do. And I think the symposium, one of the things I think that's powerful about the symposium that we're organizing is that we're going to get the attention of a lot of entities that are going to want to be supportive of our work. I have no doubt about that because I believe that success breeds success. So this conversation that we've had today has been very rich, very impassioned. The voices of the students were very powerful. The discussion around a hybrid conference, a hybrid symposium, which will be both calling for abstracts as well as identifying subject matter experts that we could bring to bear on the areas of focus for the symposium will be very powerful opportunity. I think, as has been mentioned, pulling together a peer review panel to review those abstracts will be a task that we will need to address. I know that my Sijikula and Professor Mbanga from Nelson Mandela University had some thoughts about how that peer review process could be assembled, and so I would encourage, as you have been, the cross fertilization between universities to look at how we might use some of the colleagues from the universities that have been participating in our discussions as part of that review process, and so that we can at least get that started. I know that we are well over the time that we were meeting. I would like to bring us back together relatively soon because I think we have much to talk about. I don't have a date per se, but I'm hoping that we could at least come back together, perhaps in 2 weeks, if that's too soon, at no later than coming back together, probably by July 9th at the latest. Any thoughts about that? Because if not, I'm going to just send out an invite and hopefully as you all will be available. Professor Cragen, I would love to speak with you offline to talk about a strategy for bringing Morgan and Howard into the process so that hopefully we can have them present at the next meeting. And if there's anything anyone would like to add for the good of the order, I would welcome any comments, any thoughts right now. This has been an exciting meeting, I think. And I appreciate so much the efforts of the team at UKZN and the Institute of Human Settlement Practitioners for the thoughts that they put into the symposium as well as the student conference and the student forums. Any thoughts, any closing thoughts from anyone? Professor Kalema, Sandali, anyone?
Well, I haven't had a chance to say very much today, but I do want to tell the students that I very much appreciate your work.
Thank you, Professor Wasserman. Yes, Professor Kalema.
This is Ernest Kale. Just wanted to just their hello.
Oh, you're breaking up, Professor.
Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening to and helping us with the concept note. And I think you've summarized it well, Liz, in terms of where we can go from now. And I think what I'm finding and what I'm seeing is cross-pollination, but also something interesting, something unique has emerged. The idea of the student forums, I think it's a great one, but I also think it should be linked with the student conference that was proposed, because I think that it will serve us well if we can marry the two somehow, but that we will be led by the students and our young colleagues, our leaders, on that aspect. So perhaps the teams can come together now. I think right now we have to come together and then chart out how the forums are going to look like. Are we still having the forums, or are we marrying the two things, or what we need to do? Because I think if we can bring all our resources together, human or otherwise, it will help us all to move ahead, because there is a lot of work to do. And then we can have different teams that are working on different matters that will bring us all together towards the symposium. So I think for us, we are in full support of the student conference, and also we are in full support of what could emerge. And we will be behind the students in terms of what they are suggesting and proposing. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's an excellent suggestion. And I think if the students and the student chapter of the Institute for Human Settlement Practitioners are willing, I think we could marry, if you will, the two concepts, and we will have not just one student conference, but we would collaborate on the student forums preceding the symposium. And I think we could bring some of the themes and the concepts that the students have identified. So it's up to them to decide whether that's a good idea. That's something that they would be interested in. I know that Professor Mangwe wants to speak, and then Brother Mbata has his hand up as well. So Professor Mangwe, would you speak, and then followed by Sandali?
Thank you very much, colleagues. I want to say that we at the University of Fort Hare are actually very pleased to be associated with this forum, which is yet to be named. And I'll be reporting in my capacity as convener of the Human Settlement Department at Fort Hare about the activities of this forum, and you have our support. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Sandali?
Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon, Liz. Apologies for coming in late and for my inconsistent attendance of these sessions, and they're really wonderful sessions. And thanks, I missed some of the presentations, but one of the things that I just wanted to mention is around the inclusion of local government as part of these conversations. I'm not sure to what degree that has happened. In my former life as Kgalema's, Prof. Kgalema's colleague at UKZN, I always was very critical of this lack of relationship between academic institutions and local government where they function, because the issues they are trying to resolve are issues that local government is custodian of and has a responsibility of resolving. So I think there should be a much closer relationship. So even the students are starting to ask questions around what we as in cities require, rather than some of these studies that go and collect dust in libraries that are irrelevant for us at an operational level and at a policy level as well, but it's just also for them to get masters or PhDs, and is really not answering the pertinent questions around housing and human settlement in their local spaces or even regional spaces, in fact. So I think for me, that would be very interesting to see whether across all where the South African universities are located and African universities are located, whether local government then becomes an attached partner to see how they contribute to the symposium, but also for them to start bringing in sort of the very relevant question to their housing challenge, rather than this distance that exists. So sorry, colleagues, to come in a grave shift right at the end and raise these kind of questions. But thank you so much for the time.
No, thank you. I think you raise a very relevant point. It's one of the reasons why I included you in the conversation. It's also why I have representatives from the state of Maryland's government as well. They have the relationship with KwaZulu-Natal as a sister state. So that was important, but also I think that it is important that we bring in the government sector. I would really like to ask you to help us think through that and to maybe identify folks that would be willing to join in on this conversation. An email from me from the United States will not have much meaning to some of the local government practitioners in South Africa, but some outreach from a local government practitioner such as yourself, I think would help open the door and bring in the perspectives, which I think will help enrich the work that we're doing. So I would love to have that happen. So I appreciate that so much. So anything else for the good of the order? Anybody else have anything to throw in there they'd like to say? Because if not, I want to thank you all for your patience today. Thank you for the passion that I've heard throughout the conversation. Thank you so much for your ideas, for your brilliance. I'm excited in the direction that we're going. I think that I would like to ask the students what they thought about Professor Kgalema's idea that we fold the student forums in the conference together so that we have that you all are engaged in the student forum process and take the lead in that effort.
Thank you. I think that's an amazing idea, and we've been working together. And so basically, like we said, it's a journey and it's not an event. And the second you do recognize that it's not an event and it's a series of contributions, and it's the development of young people within the academia or within the academic space of learning how to write. Leading up to the symposium, I foresee young people writing exceptional papers because of the contributions that would have emanated from the students' conference, because of its capacity to develop young people, and our lecturers will be on board. And so, like Mr. Mteto Tando had said initially, it's to say that let us have more collaborations or rather stakeholders involved in planning the students' conference so that by the time we have a global symposium, we do not find some people who, so basically we want every student to be on board. We want the quality of presentations to be on par. We want to have general consensus around various debates or rather various topics and then start debating around it with you as our lecturers and with practitioners. And I welcome what Dr. Mbata was contributing into saying that we genuinely need to start having more local practitioners taking part in these conversations, because there is a lot of friction between academia and practice because of that political space. And so we should not isolate ourselves from the practical reality of our people, of the practical reality of who's implementing and who's facilitating the implementation of these projects. And so genuinely speaking, I think that students would genuinely benefit from more collaborations, more mentorship, and it's a journey. And so I welcome it. I believe that the organization also welcomes it, and we just need to, start working and engaging more with everyone who's on board, everyone who's on here. And so in terms of communication, I'm sure Prof. Hope will communicate and give us more information so that it's not just a series of meetings, but rather there is a lot of background work happening, and maybe even virtual conversations and debates in smaller groups leading up to the conference and leading up to the symposium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my dear. I think we've had some wonderful breakthroughs today. I am just absolutely gratified by the contributions that have been made today, by the passion that was here, by the thoughtfulness. And thankfully, we've got July 2022 as our target. We've got some time. I'm not going to say that we have the luxury of time, but we do have some time to really put some more thought into our approach. But I think the basis of our approach is very sound. I'm excited by the flexibility of the folks who are a part of this discussion, and the willingness to look at the possibilities and the opportunities. So I am grateful for that. I'm going to, after this meeting, I'm going to take the recording of this conversation that I was able to get, and I will make it available to folks in the shared folder. I would very much like to make sure that I have everyone's email. So there is a contact list in the shared folder. If you don't have access, please contact me. I don't think I have your email address, little sister. So if you would pop it in the chat for me so that I can have it. And then I want to make sure that we're all getting back together in a month or less. And if everybody can work with July 9th, that's the date I'm going to go with. It's another Friday. That gives us something to think about, and I'm just so excited. And I want to just thank everyone for their principled participation, for your passion. And I really want to think about the research possibility for how we bring students and practitioners and academics together to affect curriculum change and to affect the professionalization of the human settlement sector from both sides of the Atlantic. So I'm looking forward to hearing back from Dr. Day Marshall on her meeting with the universities that she's meeting with, to see what we might be able to present, to see what their interests might be. And I trust that for the students, we will make sure that you have some practitioners from the United States to help present to your conference, because I think that to your forums, because I think we've got some folks that have a lot to share. And if we can encourage mentorship, that's what we're going to do as well, so that you have mentors on the other side of the Atlantic that could also be helpful to you. So if we all look at as being mentors to each other in this effort, I think we can harness this incredible brain power to do something absolutely amazing. So thank you all. I wish you a good day further. I hope you have a great weekend, and stay well and be safe until we see each other again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Cheers.
Bye, colleagues.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.